The Midlands Ultra is proudly sponsored by Complimed for the gap in your medical aid. It was back to Midmar in early October for the highly anticipated Complimed Midlands Ultra-triathlon. This, the second event of the year, was set to attract a larger field based on the success of the event in March. And in addition, a mix of top triathletes from all over South Africa, all eager to take honours in the Complimed Midlands Ultra. The Complimed Midlands Ultra is made up of two events, the shorter sprint event and the traditional ultra distance. This race being a must-do event for those racing Ironman SA in April. As masses filled the transition, it was clear from the vibrant atmosphere that all minds were set on having a great day's racing.
Hey, excited?
So, oh my God!
What better way to experience a triathlon than with a sprint race? A 600-meter swim followed by a 22.5-kilometer bike ride and ending off with a 5-kilometer run.
It's a little bit overcast, a little bit drizzly, but I think it's going to clear up just now. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good swim. I hope that the weather's not going to be too cold. I've never done this route before, but I've heard it's going to be quite a flat route.
My name's Marius Roberts and I'm about to do my first triathlon. I brought the bananas because apparently they're vital for the front of the swimming trunks. That's about all I know. I've decided not to train either so I can see what it's about. I think that's the idea. I don't want to know too much about it, so you go in raw, see what the experience is about, and I think hopefully the bug bites.
The chilly 18-degree waters of Midmar Dam would prepare competitors for a single lap on the bike through the spectacular Midlands countryside. Then onto a relatively flat run route around the colourful terrain of the Midmar Nature Reserve.
My name's Chris and I'm doing a sprint triathlon, my first one, so I don't really have the gear. It looks like I'm going to freeze.
Yeah, I'm a bit embarrassed about these outfits, but borrowed it from a friend, so I'll say it's not mine and it's just a once-off, but yeah, anything to keep a bit warmer.
It was in the early stages of the swim that Henry Schumann opened up an incredible lead over rivals James Vivigi and Dylan Pivot. Into transition, and Schumann had still maintained an impressive gap. The question on everyone's mind was whether he had gone out too fast, and would he maintain this pace throughout the remainder of the event. Meanwhile, back in the water, some of the swimmers had resorted to a more relaxing stroke, taking it easy and enjoying the outdoors. The Midlands Ultra appeals to all walks of life, from young to old. The sprint race especially allows newcomers to the sport a good introduction to triathlons and a chance to enjoy this unique racing atmosphere. Back up front and 5 kilometers into the course, Schumann was still powering away at an ever-increasing lead. Vivigi, lying in second place, was having a great race. Schumann, however, not yet in his sight. This was not going to stop Vivigi from putting on the pressure. Teammate Pivot, seen here in third place, was not far behind Vivigi. the two of them eventually packing together to advance on Schumann. In the ladies' sprint race, it was Lauren Dance who had moved into pole position after catching Catherine Grenfell in the cycle route. But Dance kept a close eye on any advances from her rivals. Schumann, meanwhile, seemed completely unconcerned about the race, and in spite of this, increased his pace at every opportunity. Just over half an hour and 21 kilometers later, Schumann makes the turn back into the Midmar Dam Nature Reserve, signaling the first changeover is close. Schumann leaving transition a full 2 minutes and 46 seconds ahead of second place Vivigi and Pivo, who are now only entering transition. The tussle for second place was going to be grueling, as is when teammates of this caliber come up against one another. It was great to see the title sponsors complement, sporting a number of entries, most of whom were new to the world of triathlons. As predicted, Pivo and Vivigi had paired together on the run, both looking equally keen to take the silver, while their hopes of catching Schumann shattered when they passed him on his return leg of the run. It was just over an hour when Schumann took a well-deserved sprint race win in a time of 1 hour 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Pivo and Vivigi sprinting it out for second position.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the win, of course. I'm in training in preparation for World Champs, so it's a good confidence boost going into the World Champs in 2 weeks' time.
Going into the race, I was worried about the swim because we've been working on the swim a lot and our swim has been slow. So, you know, in the beginning I just found someone's feet to stick on, and I stuck on, I think, Karen Grenfell's feet. My teammate James Vivigi caught me on the bike, and then it was kind of a, you know, switching back and forth between us. Onto the run, it was just us battling it out on the run and then sprinted past him.
Lauren Dance maintained an impressive pace and found herself out on her own and challenged the entire run. Dance crossing the line in a time of 1 hour, 12 minutes and 31 seconds.
Yeah, I had a bad start in the swim, got my rhythm at the first buoy. I ended up coming second out the water behind Karen. The bike's my favourite. It's a hard route, hard course, nice hills. Yeah, so just maintained pace on the run, and I had a pretty decent run, and yeah, pretty good race.
There was no doubt this sentiment was shared among all who crossed the line that day, some finding the urge for a sprint finish all too tempting, while others just enjoyed the feeling of finishing at a solid, steady pace.
We can't complain about the weather. We've had a fantastic day so far. This would appear to be a very good turnout, and we're very pleased as being title sponsors what we've seen so far.
Over to the ladies' prize giving. Lauren Dance in a time of 1 hour 12 minutes and 31 seconds, followed by Lauren Dougal in 1 hour 14 minutes and Karen Grenfell in third place. The times there again showing Henry Schumann with that massive 3-minute gap. Hay Gibb and Gareth Hughes just missing out on a podium position. Next in the lineup was the ultra distance, a daunting 1.9 kilometer swim followed by a 90 kilometer cycle. A notion one would expect to attract only selected individuals turned out to draw a massive crowd despite the weather.
My name's Mike. We're at Midmar Dam now for the Midlands Ultra.
But it's a nice swim. The course is fairly undulating, so it's quite a challenge if you go too hard in the beginning. And then the run's normally nice and flat. So all in all, Midmar's a great event. Good venue, so we're hoping for a good race, you know.
First up is the swim with 1 lap consisting of 2 turning buoys, followed by 4 laps on the cycle route and finishing off with 2 laps around the water's edge of the Midmar Dam Nature Reserve.
I'm quite excited to swim in the dam. Someone said yesterday it's about 18 degrees.
No, definitely. I came here yesterday morning for a swim and it was freezing.
So it's definitely a wetsuit swim.
Definitely a wetsuit swim.
We need you on the left-hand side of the cones, please, if you all move across.
For a large part of the field, the luxury of a wetsuit was not an option. The 1.9 kilometer swim, however, would surely get body temperatures soaring in a matter of seconds. Team Goo wasted no time with Jeff Norton powering his way to the front, taking a commanding lead over the competition behind. Kent Kirkwood and Ross Koch both pushing hard to maintain a good time. Norton switching to his backstroke to assess the situation and judges the lead he has built for himself in just over a kilometer. Near the last buoy, Norton was almost out of sight from the rest of the field. Over to the cycle, and Team Goo Energy were 3 minutes and 13 seconds ahead of the first individual competitor, Donovan van Gelder. Van Gelder, now in the Masters category, was delivering an outstanding performance, but would have to race hard to keep Gerard de Bruin and Bradley Weiss at bay. De Bruin and Weiss had by now paired together and were determined to close the gap on first place position holder Van Gelder. In the mixed team event, Team Scott powered ahead, setting an impossible pace for the individual competitors, while Danielle Veltman had advanced into the lead of the elite ladies event. Team Goo Girls at this stage lying first in the ladies team event. Back to the men's, and Van Gelder was still holding on to the lead, but feeling the pressure as De Bruin, who had now broken away from Weiss, pushed hard to catch up. Drama unveils in the men's race as De Bruin, previous silver medalist at the March event, and Weiss, World Under-23 Cross Triathlon champ, pushed past Van Gelder, who by now was taking on strain. We took some time out before the race to chat to Donovan about his lead up to the Complement Midlands Ultra.
When I compare myself to the youngsters that I'm racing against now, there's no pressure for me. I'm very comfortable with what I've achieved over the years, and I think I did as well as my talents allowed me to. So yeah, every race is a bonus. You know, if I win a race, it's great. You know, you never get tired of winning. But if I don't, there's no pressure. And there's another advantage of being over 40 now. It's like being a junior again. When I was a junior, you finished high up in the field and everyone says, hey, look how well the youngster did. You know, now it's like you're 40 plus and everyone says, look how well the old buddy did.
The cycle route by now was inundated with an array of athletes on their bicycles, from the first-timers to triathlon all the way to the seasoned pros. All were putting in a maximum effort and seemed to be getting the ultimate reward. On the final turn, Van Gelder had worked tirelessly to catch up to De Bruin, and with roughly 20 kilometers to transition, it was apparent Van Gelder had stuck to his strategy, which was beginning to pay off.
Cycling is definitely my strong point. I spent quite a number of years just being a cyclist, so obviously that history stays in your body. Cycling is generally where I'd win a race. I try and get a gap to take into the bike, and generally I have to make up some time that I lose in the swim. But I'd say in triathlons, I think my strength is the fact that I can ride amongst the best and still run decently afterwards. I tend to run closer to my potential off the bike than other guys do. So in other words, I'll run better compared to a guy than if we just did a straight running race.
Into the final transition, Van Gelder managing to tire out De Bruyn on the last cycle lap, securing himself an incredible 2 minutes and 10-second lead over De Bruyn. Weiss was now lying 1 minute 48 seconds behind De Bruyn and would need to make up time in the transition and use the run to his advantage. The Scott team was still miles ahead as they changed teammates, while out on the road the determined face of Danielle Veltman entered the transition after pushing hard for over 3.5 hours and still manages a laugh with her supporters. Lindy Lee Fulcher, now holding on to second place, would need to really put the hammer down in the run to make up the 9-minute lead Danielle Veltman had created, with Jody Zulberg lying third. A top triathlete will go through transition in just under a minute. Yet as the rest of the competitors made it into the transition, a pair of clean socks and rehydration seemed to be of a far higher priority. That said, there was great support for all the athletes despite the damp conditions for spectators. Jason Wolford enjoying almost 2 minutes in transition. Well deserved though after nearly 3 hours on the bike. Meanwhile, up front, Van Gelder was pushing on and was rounding the halfway mark of his first lap. It was a long wait before De Bruyn finally submitted the hill to make the turn, having to be content with second place at this stage. Weiss, not too far behind De Bruyn, was settled into a nice rhythm and was looking comfortable with his by now quickening pace. It was in the beginning of the second lap that the jostle between De Bruyn and Weiss began to develop. Unbeknown to De Bruyn, Weiss had made up time and had him in his sights. Eventually, Weiss, using his tactical knowledge, explodes on De Bruyn and overtakes him to move into second place. From then on, Weiss had to give it everything he had to keep ahead and extend the gap and hopefully fend off the previous silver medalist for good. Running a half marathon after pushing hard through a 1.9 kilometer swim and a 90 kilometer bike ride requires some serious inner strength and willpower, many of these competitors enduring 6 to 7 hours of total race time. Those who adopted a smile and positive attitude were rewarded with some of the most beautiful running conditions this magnificent and well-kept nature reserve has to offer. By lap 2, it was a clear indication that Van Gelder, with 5 kilometers to go, had the race in the bag. He would later go on to describe the 2012 Midlands Ultra as one of the highlights in his 26-year competitive career. The first mixed team, Team Scott, was still up front, led by Michelle Scott. Behind her, a now tired-looking Feltman had started to lag somewhat on her pace, and Fulcher was moving in fast.